I love this job and I wouldn't change it for the world. But I'll never quite get used to that thing of like, I don't know if I'll work again, and then I suddenly could get a call tomorrow, and yeah, my life changes. That I'm facing a contract in which I'm looking at a contract that would change my life, change my parents' life, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then that might all go away and you're back to square one.
Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Tom Brittney is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process when you get a new character?
It depends on the job. I mean, with this one, with the Westies, that was I think the deepest I'd gone in sort of research. I really went back to, it's funny, I went back to drama school kind of stuff that I was taught, which for years, because I hated drama school so much. I was so against kind of stubbornly not using any of the tools that I've been taught, because I just disagreed with the whole kind of principle of the way they were teaching stuff. And then I went back on this one to really going back to like, what body does he have? Like this guy's kind of, you know, he's violent, he boxes, all these kind of things. So I was like, okay, I'm going to work on the body. How does he move? And how does he look? Like, you know, I look different in this. So I went back to that kind of, and then built it up. I don't know if that's, and then kind of probably the Stanislavski kind of method of the internal life and what he wants. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy breaking work down in that way. But I think sometimes I've not done it as much as I should have or wanted to, because maybe the role is, and this sounds silly, but like if it's smaller, and there's a kind of strange, and also the nature of filmmaking or TV making is you don't know if you're going to get cut or your lines get cut on the day, and there used to be this thing where I was like, I'm not going to put as much effort in for fear of the heartbreak of having done all. I've had that on jobs where I've done so much research and then been cut. And it's been the most heartbreaking thing. And I've kind of just now gone, you know what, whatever it is, whatever the size of the role, whatever it is, I'm going to throw myself in.
Is there any other reason with this guy? Is it because of it's set in an era that's not our time? Is it
set in an era that's not our time? It's a place I didn't grow up in.
Yeah.
It's vastly different from who I am as a person. And I would have not done it justice. I mean, like I said, is you know, the whole kind of principle, I think, of doing the work is you've got to do the work and then throw it out the window. Yeah. But you've got to know, in order to feel confident on set that you've done that foundation, I've looked into the history of the place. I looked at a lot of photography because I have this fascination with New York, especially in this era that the Westies is in, like 70s, 80s, 90s. Even though I was never there, I've always, like films like The Warriors, you know, The Warriors, just becoming obsessed with that film, and this is kind of the same era. So I just tried to do as much like immersive stuff that I would have an image in my mind. If I'm in a studio where I can't see it, I have this feel and sense memory of a place that didn't exist. Just so I can go with the flow with that thing and feel confident.
But what does that really do for you? What does that do when they yell action? If you feel like, you know, the surroundings go beyond that wall, the set goes and it's real. Like it sounds like that's important to you to have.
Yes.
But what is that?
I'm not a method actor. I like cut and I stop. You know, I don't stay in accent, and part of that's because I feel silly. You know, I think acting's one of those things where, like, when you really look at it, it can be quite silly, and that's not to demean it. I think it's a beautiful job that I get to do, but you know, you have to embarrass yourself. You have to feel safe to do something that might seem silly, and you're dressed in this costume. You have to take yourself really seriously within that moment. When it cuts, I'm out. Yeah. And I have a lot of pride for people in some ways, as long as their method doesn't inflict upon anyone else. If they have to stay in accent, they have to stay in character. Cool, all power to them. I like being able to switch, I think, and within action and cut, or just the moments before you are in that, the cameras go away, the 15 crew members that you have behind that disappear, and you're just there with that person in that world. And it's the most incredible thing. I've been so privileged to work on, especially period stuff. Period stuff is the most incredible, I think, because the level of detail that's put into the sets.
Yeah.
You know, on the Westies, they built basically a block of Manhattan that was multi-purpose. It could flip around and be different blocks. And you probably don't even get to see, because the way cameras are, you know, the depth of field, it's kind of blurred in the background, but you know, the detail they put into the shop fronts. And, but we as actors get to see that. And every time I walked on, it's a time machine. That's
gotta feel right? When you're seeing the surroundings.
Yeah, and again, for an era and a place I didn't grow up in.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore. You know, we filmed in Toronto, and as much as it would have been, Toronto's lovely, but of course, and my obsession with New York, I would have loved to have filmed in New York, but it would have been almost harder in some ways to recreate the 80s New York in modern day New York.
Right. The 2010s don't exist here anymore. You know what
I know.
Nothing. I mean, everything keeps changing.
And the real Hell's Kitchen is, and part of the show is about the sort of gentrification of, it goes from being an impoverished area to slowly, you know, through the 80s getting better. So you know, you wouldn't get that level of detail. You would, but it would just cost way more. But yeah, it's incredible to walk on that and go, I'm here. That's and JK amazing. Will kind of go, it wouldn't be like that. You know, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, and he'll kind of point stuff out. Yeah. But for me, it's you know, and it's so different to stage in that way, because you have to use your imagination. You know, there's less acting required when you're on that set, and there's a fire hydrant that's spraying, and a yellow cab goes by, and you're like, my God.
Why did you reject all this drama school stuff? What was that about you?
I think there's two main things. I was kind of, I probably had an ego to some extent. I think everyone did. There were 15 of us who got in. I went to a school called the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. It was just called Central back then, and they rejected the Royal thing because RADA had the Royal thing. Right. RADA was the kind of Juilliard of the UK, and Central had more kind of socialist roots. The Royal thing goes against it, but they need the funding. But at the time, we were all 15 of us were probably, you know, we would have considered ourselves or thought we were maybe the best actors of our colleges, or you know, and UK college, our kind of upper you know, senior high school. So we all kind of went in with an ego, which comes from, you're 18 years old and you're going to London I lived in the West Country, and that was a big move. So I had that, and a kind of rebel without a cause attitude, which wasn't a cool thing to have, but it was a kind of like, I always wanted someone to prove to me why I was there, rather than the other way around. But I very quickly just realized that it was a very weird system, because they picked from day one, and this isn't, despite the ego stuff I've just said, it wasn't an ego thing necessarily, was that they just decided they picked two people that were going to be the lead actors in everything. And it wasn't about being the lead. That wasn't the interesting thing. It was just about the fact that there was a preferential treatment that meant that, along with my kind of attitude, that I never really, there were a fair few of us who never really got good treatment, I think. And you know, I had an acting teacher who said to me, was like, you know, you like acting like driving a fast car, you get a thrill from it. And he was saying it in a negative way. And I was like, of course I do, I love it. I love this thing. I was also a bit of a class clown, and how dare you try and be a class clown out of clowning class. It was just a really, you know, confusing kind of thing. But I think that there was a lot of bitterness in the teachers, a lot of them aren't there. A lot of them were fired actually a few years after I left, for a multitude of kind of like, you know, bad things that they did. But you were taught by kind of bitter actors, jealous actors who hadn't been in the industry. If they had, not for very long, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think that means you don't have a right to teach. But there was a disconnect, I think, from the reality of what the industry was. That even at 18, I think a lot of us knew didn't translate. And I think, you know, I know that actually from they gave me some mentees and some kids to mentor many years later when I was doing TV stuff. They wouldn't allow me to have a mentor myself when I was there. Because they didn't think I deserved one. And they tried to kick me out a couple of times. And again, what I said earlier about my attitude very quickly went away. That was just when I started.
Yeah. But how did you not only survive that, but want to keep going? You know, it's almost like somebody else that would have broke them down and been like, yeah, I'm not going to do this.
I work very well, I think, with barriers. I think if being an underdog gave me, it fueled my fire, because it kind of made me go, no, I want this so much, and I don't agree with the teaching methods at times, because I very quickly understood that it was a bubble. It was a 3-year, the course was 3 years, bachelor's degree. I kind of knew that this would end and there would be the real world afterwards. And that wasn't the same for a lot of the students, because they then got tricked in. For instance, the two guys that they picked as leads are no longer they didn't work as actors. They worked for actors for a very short amount of time, but they were trapped in the bubble of school. They had peaked in there, and I think they had been badly treated in some way by the teachers, because they had created this illusion that this is what the industry would be like. Whereas I was already kind of prepared for the rejection, which is such a big part of what we do.
Yeah.
That I already had kind of gone, okay, well, it's not going to be any worse than this.
Yeah.
If I can handle drama school, I can handle the real world.
That's amazing. They may have given you what you needed, in a way.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm never going to give them credit. I can imagine at one point, one of the teachers kind of being, but we were doing this on purpose, and be like, no, you weren't. Fuck off. No, you weren't. You were just.
They didn't believe in you.
They didn't believe in me, and I have to blame myself as well that maybe I didn't give them that, because it's a catch-22. Maybe I didn't give them
a reason
to. But also, I think from being out in the industry enough now, I think with directing, for instance, or anything in which you are, you're looking after a group of people. You're going to have, if you're directing, you're going to have a load of different egos on set. You can't be, maybe you can if they're destructive in some way, which I don't think I was. But you have to look at that person on an individual level and go, okay, there's not one teaching method that works for everyone. This person, the driving a fast car to get a thrill from it kind of analogy that this person used. Yeah. Well, look at that in me and say, what is it about this student that I can hone? Wouldn't that make you feel like a better teacher? Right. If you could go, okay, he's not responding to the academic side of it. Right. He loves this part. Well, let's make him love these other parts, but look at his mentality. Right. I would do the same if I was directing someone and go, okay, the note that I'm giving isn't working. I can be angry at them. I can't be angry at them. I've got to go, okay, I've got to find a different method to get them to get to the place that I know that they can do. And
what you're describing there is two actual jobs. It's the job. You know what I mean?
It's the job.
If anything, they're not doing their job then.
They auditioned for drama school, I think 3,000 people around the world to have 15 to 18 places. We lost 3 people, still alive, I need to word it carefully. We lost them to the class for mental health reasons very quickly, which just shows the atmosphere that we were in. But you've auditioned 3,000 people and you've got 15 people you think deserve this place. Right. Well, do your job, exactly like you say, like do your job and get them to the end. And you can't guarantee success, but put them in the best place for that. They broke a lot of us down. And out of that 15, I am maybe one of 2 who are working, which I think is just a failure of the school.
That's right. What did you do when you got out of there? Did you have a course of action? Did you know what you wanted to do? Were you very clear about how to approach this as a career?
Yes and no. I mean, the honest thing is, I didn't realize until I was probably about 16 that acting was a real career. Like I genuinely, this makes me sound like a moron, but I genuinely thought people like Brad Pitt had other jobs. I did not know that you could. I thought films were shot over, a few weeks and they were shot in order, and I thought that there's no way that you could make a living from this. Again, I grew up in this place down in Devon, which is, there wasn't a massive. It was a bit of theatre, but I film and TV was what I always wanted to do. It was movies that made me go, I want to play in whatever that world is. And it was my mum really who was the person my mum was my acting teacher at elementary school. And she did amateur dramatics in our village. And she was the person who, and not in a kind of like soccer mum way, she just encouraged me to do it and take it seriously. Because I think she knew that it was something I could do. Mm-hmm. And there probably wasn't much else I could do. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of unabashedly went to drama school and I want to do film and TV, which is also, not to keep going on about drama school and its flaws, was that was a faux pas, because you had to kind of go in and be like, no, you wanted to do the RSC, you wanted to do Shakespeare and be a tree at the Globe, and that was the aim. Whereas I was like, no, I want to do movies. Mm-hmm. I want to work with Tom Hanks one day. I want to do this, and that felt, gross to them. Mm. So when I left, I was lucky enough to get an agent, which is one of the kind of big positives of drama school. You get a showcase, and I got an agent, and said the same to them. They said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to do film and TV, and I want to, I want to work with. I'd love to work with these directors or do these kind of projects." And even my agent at the time was like, "Everyone wants to do that." Mm. And I went, "Well, yeah, okay, of course, but I do. What am I supposed to say?"
Yeah.
And then it was a tricky kind of first year. It was a lot. Although I have no shame, and I did a lot of commercials. They paid the bills. Worked in a pub. And that was fun. It was fun doing that. I had no kind of vanity about it. Mm-hmm. I knew that it was stepping stones. Mm-hmm. As long as I could pay the bills and free myself up to audition for stuff. But I was very adamant with my agent, who was putting me up for one of my funniest stories. There was this stage play on, and I'd said to my agent I wasn't massive on stage. I think drama school had knocked that. Any love that I might have had for stage was kind of knocked out of me a little bit. And I just wanted to stick true to what I wanted to do. But there was this stage play called War Horse. I don't know if it came over here.
Yeah.
Kit Harington of Game of Thrones fame had been in it, and it's kind of a puppetry show where they have real human actors with these puppets that are incredible puppets of horses, full size. And he said, "Look, you've got an audition for War Horse." And I said, "Okay, I'm not massive into stage, but it did well for Kit Harington. Maybe that would be good." And he went, "Yeah, it's for the head of the horse." And I said to my agent, was like, "Really?" He said, yeah. It's got a great casting director, if they see you for this, they'll, put me in a different animal costume?
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my ego speaking. But I went along to the audition. I did 3 rounds. And stupidly, being like a 21-year-old, I got progressively more and more hungover for each round to self-sabotage. But they offered me the job. Whatever I was doing, they were like, "God, this guy's a great horse," and offered it to me. And it was good. It was good money, but it was a year contract.
Wow.
And it was really good money, at the time, and being 21. And I turned it down, and my agent was furious. And I just went, "No, I get me one line on a TV show, just one line on whatever shitty TV show it is. I know that you need that one credit.
Yeah.
You have to have been on TV to get on TV sometimes." Mm-hmm. And within a couple of months, I had, a small partner, a kind of daytime soap we had called Doctors. Mm. And then that started the TV thing.
See, isn't that's the crossroads right there, right? Wouldn't you say? The idea of possibly looking at a year of working in that bar instead of that job. I mean, that's what you were looking at.
Yeah.
Just in terms of pure money, you turned down money.
Yeah, it was about 60 grand, which again at the time, I make myself feel old in terms of talking about that, but the cost of living was much lower. 60 grand was great. When one of my first commercials, I lived off that, and it wasn't paid massively. Looking back on it, wasn't paid massively, but I managed to stretch that for a year. And it stopped me. I liked bar work, but it stopped me having to do it. I would encourage any young actor to, do a commercial. Don't have vanity at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do that small role on something just to get on the ladder. Do a student film that pays 500 quid.
Yeah.
And if you can, and also you can afford to do that if you do have a bar job and you have that other job, and then hopefully if you stick to your guns, it'll work out and it'll start becoming your main career.
Do you think if there's any way that things didn't work out, is there any part of you that would have been like, "I should have been that horse head"?
Well, the other thing about the horse head was I actually, there was a family friend who I didn't know, but my mum did, and said he'd done the head of the horse. He'd done it like years before, and he basically crippled his back doing it.
Oh, it
So
has
like
health consequences.
It has health consequences where it's like he has to have physio
Jesus.
for the rest of his life because it's like compressed his spine. So if I needed another reason, to not do it. I mean, I actually, looking at my whole career as I stand now, like there aren't that many regrets that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And not even just in a Buddhist way of like, there's no point to having regrets because I have life regrets, career regrets. There's probably not been anything that whether it's auditions I've turned down or jobs I've turned down that I've laid awake at night and gone, if only. There's a couple of jobs I've missed out on, of course, where I'm like, what could have been? But I have to keep telling myself this is my journey. This is the only way to look at it. But the idea of it not working out, I mean, I genuinely don't know. That's the kind of alternate universe that terrifies me.
Yeah.
Is what happened? What would happen if that didn't work out? What would happen if it doesn't work out now?
Right.
You never know.
Right.
Because I do not know what else I'd do.
Right.
And I'm in too deep now.
Right. I think someone would let you teach somebody.
Well, yeah. Isn't there a phrase about that? There's a phrase, I think, if you can't...
Those who can't do, teach.
Teach, right, exactly. Yeah, you know what? I remember I have an older sister over in Australia, and I remember when I just graduated from drama school, and she was trying to connect with me about the acting thing, and it was very successful, this thing. And she was like, well, if it doesn't work out, you've got the degree. And I was like, yeah, but in acting. Like, what do I do with that? I can't walk into a bank and, say I want to work in stocks and I want to work on the floor. And,
Yeah. Was there a moment where you're like, I'm doing this. This is actually going to be my life and I can make money from this. Like, what was that moment?
There's different degrees of kind of success, I think, or the moment I ever had a camera in front of me, which was a commercial. Like I said, it was a commercial for Intel computers. That was where I went, I've made it.
Yeah.
And not in a naive way. I kind of went, I had always wanted to be on camera and do this.
Here's a camera.
And it was this incredible, also, I loved The Little Wins. That was directed by a guy called Daniel Kleinman, who directed all of the openings for Bond films. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I was a massive Bond fan. Mm-hmm. And that for me was going, this is incredible. Mm-hmm. I'm on a set with a camera in front of me being directed by the guy who does those. And it was going to come out in cinema. This advert was going to come out worldwide in cinemas. And I went,
it doesn't get better
than this. And so that was and that never goes away. Every job that I do, being over here in New York doing press, it's amazing. However, there's also the thing of I'm not, and this isn't a kind of like, woe is me, but I'm not at that stable place yet. I don't have 100% guarantee that I'm going to work again this year. Mm-hmm. And also I think there's a strange thing that the kind of the levels you go up, I worked kind of more consistently, the smaller roles that I did, the kind of more lead roles that I did, they put you in a strange bracket of kind of, it's not always guaranteed. You're competing against a lot bigger people for bigger roles. You can't always necessarily go backwards to those smaller roles. Not there's backwards or sideways, whatever the direction it is. Yeah. You can't necessarily always, because it doesn't make as much career sense. So you go into a little limbo.
Right. Even if there's more work there, it's no point in going and doing that because you're not on a trajectory then.
Because it's not on a trajectory. Yeah. And this is the thing I really battle with sometimes about that, because you do get in too deep. Well, not too deep. You get into deep enough. And I think I'm in that little bracket now where it's like, I don't know. And there's an excitement in that. I was in a show called Grantchester for 7 years. Yeah. I could have stayed in that longer. It could have, it's finished now. I think it got to the end of its natural course, and this wonderful actor Rishi Nair took over from me afterwards, and I think it got to 11 seasons, which I think is just fantastic. It's one of the longest running shows in the UK. It was great. But I decided to leave after doing, I think, 6 or 7 seasons of it.
That's a lot.
And it's a lot, and it was stability. I knew, even during COVID, when a lot of actors weren't working, I knew I was going off to film. Mm-hmm. I was really privileged in that. Mm-hmm. And I chose not to continue with having stability, to go out into the wide world and find something new. And I left as the Hollywood strike happened. So I didn't work for most of a year.
That must have been scary at that moment.
Terrifying.
To make that choice and then do that. Yeah.
Terrifying. And talking about regret, that was really hard to not battle the regret of going, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done? And I directed. I actually just then pivoted and I directed an episode of Grantchester. I knew I wanted to direct more, but now I did that because I was on the show. It's quite hard to. If you were to direct outside of that, you'd have to pick. That would potentially screw up my acting career in some ways. To go, hey, sorry, I can't do that job. Spielberg's called. Yeah, I can't do it because I'm directing a block of this TV show. But because I had this time where I couldn't act, I went, oh, I'm going to go and make some short films. But it was really scary, and I was in a relationship at the time where, I lost my I got this fear of not being able to provide, and I'd gone from having a good paycheck and having stability to nothing, and being this kind of starving artist again.
There you are again.
Right, which was weird. It's really weird.
But then you go out and people recognize you out in the
right.
world.
And then you start getting, and it's a bit long, and they're like, oh, where have you been? Then you start getting those questions of like, oh, we haven't seen you for a while, and that was a really difficult time, like mental health wise, I think, to kind of stick to going, okay, I made the right decision. This is going to pay off. Yeah. This is going to pay off. And I've taken a gamble on myself, and this is going to pay off.
You said that Grantchester made you a better actor.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How did that do that?
Well, I think two things. It was the longest like running role I'd had. Right, a lot before that had been guest roles coming in, and so this was the first time of having time to develop a character over multiple seasons, but over multiple episodes, and work with some just incredible people. Like Robson Green, who was my co-star, I have so much to thank for him. He's such a seasoned pro. He taught me so much about the theatre of film, what your lens size is. All these different things that it wasn't just about coming in, knowing your line, standing on the mark. Yeah. It's about being a collaborative actor who, if you say to the director, what are we shooting on? And it depends on the director. They might be like, it's not your job to ask. But I think now I've learned any DOP will be thankful if you are sometimes, because okay, how much room am I playing with? If it's a 35 mil or if it's, we're on an 80, I need to know how much I can move my face. And it just dialed in those technical things that I would like to think made my performances better. I'd like to think, but I think having that awareness means that you're like, okay, this is the theatre I'm working in. And just working with the crew for that long as well, and really getting to know what every crew member does, how to help out with that as well. If there's a boom in shot, well, how do I move around so that we don't have a shadow, and being part of that crew and just having so much respect in a different way than when you just walk in, you're kind of just so nervous getting your lines right. Yeah. Whereas when you get to bed in with a crew for multiple years, just really learning how that works. And then I got to direct. I got to see it on the other side. I got to executive produce and see how it works even further behind the veil. And then I think every element of that has helped me just be a better collaborator and better, professional actor.
As the years went on and different directors keep coming on, was that hard to get used to, like some other director directing you with this character that you've been living with for 7 years?
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, we had a pretty good bunch. Occasionally you'd have a couple of weaker ones sometimes, but
that must have been a learning experience for you later as a director. When you had a weak director, we're not going to get into names here, but I think that's fascinating, right? Yeah. Because then you start to really understand what a director does.
You learn. I think I learned more how to direct from seeing it done wrong.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's not from any kind of arrogant way of like, I think I know what's right. It was kind of an instinctive thing. Stuff about the line, right? The line, it's like the offside rule in soccer. Trying to explain it to people is like the breaking the line. You'll know
180,
the 180 rule and stuff like that. That's something that I didn't know. I'd never studied that, but I would start to notice if a director was kind of breaking that or something felt uncomfortable. I started to feel as well, and this goes to today And with any job I do is, especially when you have different directors on different blocks, is like when you can feel the difference between a director who you feel free and then you feel like you're on rails. You can tell if a director's kind of telling you to do something because it looks cool for a shot or whether it feels right.
Yes.
And I'm not necessarily an actor who's like, I don't know, I don't think my character would sit down at that moment. Although I have had those moments, and I think it's always
thought those things.
Yeah, I thought those things, but I have had those moments, and I think it's always like a kind of funny cliche on TV of showing other actors being like, I don't think my character would do this, and I don't think my character would do that. But there are some times where you're like, I don't think my character would do that, and I don't think you think my character would do that, but I think you think it would look good. Now, is there a way that we can communicate to each other that I can make that feel right?
Right.
You know, if you have to like pull your gun out on this moment and they want it done in this way because that will look cool, but actually it just wouldn't feel right. And it would feel wrong and it would make the performance suffer for a cool shot. But that's always a discussion, I think.
Yeah.
You have to have, and a good director is amenable. I've learned as well, directing is I can go in with my shot list, I can go in with my blocking, but I have to be amenable to what the actor brings. Yeah. Because that's why I've hired them. Yeah. And that's why I've been hired. Because, and I think Quentin Tarantino said this, is like, that first take, don't give any notes. Because that's the only time you're going to get the purest form of what the actor's instincts are. Right. And then I think your job as as a director is to hone what you can see the actors doing. They're on the tightrope, you just have to tap them.
Yes. It's interesting that you're talking about Grantchester and leaving Grantchester after 7 years. And then you come and you have an opportunity a few years later here with this new show, The Westies. And you sign a contract. Like, if this thing is a giant hit, Tom,
I've signed a contract for 6 years.
You are back on a show. This show must be fantastic.
Yes.
That's why, right? I mean, because you're at a precipice, perhaps, of exciting things, and this is an exciting thing, though. It must be, if you're saying, I would be willing to live in this character for 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, I say that now. Let's talk again in 6 years. Because the truthful thing is, after leaving Grantchester, I was in a 3-year contract for that. And so I stayed because I loved it, because I found my family. Like that, it was the most heartbreaking decision leaving. There's a scene where me and Robson are saying goodbye in that show, and we're crying, or at least trying to stop ourselves crying as much as we were in reality. Like it was like leaving a relationship that you just, it wasn't a bad relationship. It was just something where I just feel like this isn't. Not right. There's no way to explain it. That was the thing. Some of my friends for life got matching tattoos with some of them. You know, these are people that I love so much, and to say goodbye it felt like a betrayal. And then after that, I was again like kind of coming out of a long-term relationship in some ways, where you're like, okay, I'm going to be single for a while. Like I'm not gonna. If there were any jobs that came up with a because that's an American standard contract. For a recurring show, with multiple potential seasons, is around 6 or 7 years. So I was just anti that for so long. And then I had this really good little thing that happened where I'd just come out of this relationship and a real, not an acting one, but a real one. And I was kind of threw myself into work, or at least auditioning and stuff like that, and kind of just going, I'm going to just go for these things. And then I suddenly got a few offers on different projects, a couple of big films that were good. They would have been. I was very close to taking them, and then this job came through. Just got the audition through, and I was like, I'm never going to get this. J.K. Simmons. I mean, that would be amazing. And this role just seemed like just what I'd been desperate for. I wanted something that was such an antithesis of Grantchester, which was. I wanted something gritty. I wanted something that would take me somewhere darker. Although that was quite a dark role, actually, Grantchester. But I wanted something, I wanted to run around with a gun in my hand. And then this came through, and I couldn't believe that it happened. I got offered it, and I was like, there was something about that where I broke down crying when I got it. I've had that a few times in my life. It probably says more about me, about where I am mentally, where a job feels like it's kind of saving you sometimes.
Yeah.
But that, which is, I think there's a complicated, discussion to have about your self-worth being put into work. But this just felt like, my God, this is a dream job.
Mm-hmm. You have to make a case for the show for someone like me who is so depressed about the idea right now that we probably have kind of a mafia organization running this whole country.
Uh-huh.
And why do I want to sit down and watch this show? Tom, I love you. I love J.K. Simmons. But do I really want to get involved in this kind of content? You have to make a case for it right now.
Well, I mean, I would say that these guys aren't the mafia. They're fighting against the mafia. These are the disorganized. Chris Brancardo puts it, this is disorganized crime with the Westies. These are the underdogs. Although they do these terrible things, they run these rackets, they're fighting against the man, which is the mafia or the government. So they're rebellious, and
it's actually what we need right now.
Right, that's exactly it. Like, they're kind of saying fuck you to the system, for better or for worse. Doesn't mean I agree with what they do, but they have a rock and roll spirit, which is different from the mafia way of doing things. Which it's funny. It's really funny with this show, like trying to, because any character you play, you have to empathize with them, even if they do despicable things. You have to. You can't play them otherwise. But I love Jimmy. Like, I really love him. I love this world. I would be heartbroken if I didn't get to go into it again. But there's something about this where, he's just trying to find a moral code in this immoral world. I just found was so fascinating.
Yeah.
And felt like so different to any other gang show that I'd seen, that was trying to humanize these people. And
see, that excites me.
Yeah.
That, you're making a good case now.
Good. As much as especially because, like I said, I was in a fortunate time where there were a couple of other jobs that I could have taken. I wouldn't have taken this if it didn't have something unique about it.
Yeah.
If there wasn't something that felt different. Because there are so many gang shows out there. There are so many mafia shows out there. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be made. It doesn't mean they're not good. But this just felt different. And Chris Brancardo had done, he'd done Narcos.
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest reason was J.K. Simmons. I just went, if he's doing this.
Yeah.
Because he has taste.
Yeah. He doesn't have to do
He does not have to. My God, he does not have to. So if he's doing this, there's a reason.
Yeah. Does it matter to you how you're so near the top of the call sheet here? Does that give you a certain amount of responsibility to the other actors, these other people that come in for only a couple episodes?
100%.
And what does that mean to you?
It's a great question, actually, because you never get to talk about this. I talked about it actually in an interview, just about JK being number one. In fact, I think Apple had a show about number one on the call sheet. Number one, you do. I think but I also think like you said earlier, is like you do when you're on set and I'm one of the leading characters. You have some power. Sounds wrong. I don't. But I think you have some responsibility, and I learned that very much on Grantchester. Any time on Grantchester when we had someone coming in for one day, you'd always try and make an effort, because I was that person, because I know what it's like, how terrifying it is coming in for one line or a small part, because you can't fuck up. Like, you can't mess up. Whereas, I can kind of have a couple of takes if I want. Whereas, the guy who's got one line, if you need to do more than, and this is in your head. I mean, I'm saying this is not necessarily a rule, but like, if you've got a couple of lines and you mess up, your job could be in jeopardy. If you can't remember your lines and you've only got a few. So I think it's always about welcoming people and making them feel safe and making the whole place feel safe. And I think, earlier when we were talking about like speaking up against, not against directors, but speaking up to a director. Again, that's harder to do if you're a smaller part. To kind of talk about like, well, I think my character would do this. They'll be like, shut the fuck up, just do the part. I've had that. Literally, at one of my first jobs, I kind of was trying to question the motivation of the character, and he said, shut the fuck up and stand on your mark, and don't look at the camera.
Oh my God.
I love it. And so I will always with other actors, if I can see, if they can, I would want them to be a safe space to talk to me.
Yeah.
If they're scared to talk to the director, if they're saying, I don't know if I feel right doing this, or I don't know if I feel like my character might do this, and I would try and encourage them, but also be there for backup if they need it. Mm-hmm. If they do feel that they're scared of that, and I like that responsibility. That's one of my favorite things about being a leading actor is help. I know it's not in some messiah complex thing, but like being able to help other people in that way.
Yeah.
Because I know how scary it is having worked up the ladder.
And it also just makes them work better, though.
Yes.
Right? It's not just about being nice. It's about like getting the best out of them.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. It's the same as an audition, right? Like, if you get an audition that's, sometimes you get like 12 pages overnight. Well, firstly, how are you going to expect them to do a good job? It's not a memory test.
Yes.
Like I can remember lines pretty quickly, but you're going to be hanging on to them. So that I don't like. But also, if you go into a room and audition, and the casting director or the director or whoever's in there is cold, then maybe even nasty, but they're not. The only way you can get the best work out of that person is going like, hey, welcome in. Like, This is your time. Do whatever you want. You forget a line, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, the lines will change them on the day anyway. Whatever it is, just do your thing. We're excited to see you. If you have questions, let us know. And so that they leave the room feeling that they've done the best they can, even if they don't get it. Yes. And the same on set is like, you're exactly right. Like, it's the only way you can do good work if you feel safe in every aspect.
Yes.
If you're terrified, you're going to freeze up. Even if you smashed it in the audition, you might suddenly it might be your first time on set, and suddenly seeing 50 people walking around and shouting action and all this stuff, it might scare you.
Mm-hmm. Can you verbalize what important things you took from when you directed that helped you when you went back and were just an actor?
Communication between departments. It's hard. I find it very hard because also I produce stuff as well. So I find it very hard once you've done that to ever switch that off. And I'm desperate to. And you always want to not that I am thinking like I could do this better or anything like that. It's just the producerial mind as well. Like if we feel, or the directorial brain as well, is that whenever I'm directing, and I think every director will know this, is I'm constantly, you need a good first AD.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm looking at the clock. Because you could have 4 pages to shoot, and you might have scheduled that for 5 hours. That 5 hours will be the quickest 5 hours in your life as a director.
You don't even know it's gone by, right?
No, right. And you'll suddenly be going, oh God, I've got 3 shots left, and I've got 20 minutes. Like, okay, how do I quickly make this work? And so I, as an actor, if I can see that we're falling behind, if I can see that like maybe there's miscommunications between departments that's slowing stuff down and we're going to lose the day, well then I'm kind of protective of my performance as well, because
interesting.
Because I'm kind of going, I know you're not going to get that close up, and this scene needs that close up, and you've done 10 takes of the wide, and I can maybe tell that the director's not editing in their head.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really useful, because you can go, look, I know you've got the beginning and the end. What are you going to use this for? What do you need?
Yeah.
And again, not every actor can do that, in the sense of that, again, if they're coming in for a part, that's not always useful. But if there have been times where I can tell that that's probably sometimes you're throwing them a life raft to go, okay, what do you need? I can work quickly. If you just need to pick up this shot. And I like dropping in and out of things, right? If it's a big scene, but I know that it's like, you need to get that small part. So I think all of those things, like I said, it probably has really annoyed directors as well that I work with, because there is a bit of like, but I've also known when it's really helped. Mm-hmm. Being a team player, and because everyone's scared to ask for help.
Yes.
And I think we all kind of need it. If the focus puller, is out of focus every time, I know that the pressure they're feeling is like, because they can't fuck up as much as the actors can. And I mean, they can, but they'll get told off more than we will, and it's not fair. It's not fair because it's like, I can screw up my line.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, fine, let's do another one. If they get it slightly blurry,
But wait,
fired.
does that mean that you're actually maybe slowing down a little bit so the focus puller doesn't get in trouble?
Well, if you have a good relationship with the DOP, you have a good relationship with like the first AC or the focus puller, then you can say, look, what's going on? Am I moving too quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Am I standing up too quickly that you're having to tilt up and you're not reaching me?
Yeah.
And maybe some are scared of talking to actors in that way because sometimes it's a director. But if you can go, this isn't an acting note. This is, do you want me to just move slower slightly so that when you pan, you can get me?
Right.
I mean, on the Westies, we had some great DOPs and camera operators, and we had loads of those conversations. And I loved it. I loved them giving me notes where they go, I can see what you're doing, and I can get that thing you're doing in your performance if you just turn your head slightly that way. And I'm like, great. Another actor might be like, great,
I was just going to say,
get them fired.
Yeah.
Which is
or like, or another actor would say, oh my God, I cannot deal with that kind of pressure of whatever that is, of now dealing with that as a thing that I have to do. But you're saying, but it's almost like it maybe it helps you in a way to actually think about stuff like that.
If it makes sense, yeah. But and again, kind of Robson taught me this, and when I directed Robson is an actor who is absolutely fine with result directing, which a lot of actors or a lot of people say is like never do.
Mm-hmm.
Do this angrier.
Right.
Normally, you maybe do, I don't know, a psychological note or something like that. But I quite like result directing because, like Robson could do, is if I said him that bit angrier, I could just mime something to him, and he knows exactly how to thread the needle to that bit. Mm-hmm. And the same for me. If someone says like, turn at that bit, I don't need to necessarily go into some deep psychological thing of why I'm doing it. I can make that make sense. Mm-hmm. But again, it's always knowing whether it's just, it's like if you have to do a shot and you have your phone in your hand, you know that you have to sometimes cheat it. If it's a mid shot, you might have to cheat it a little closer to your face, which looks mad. There's so many things you have to do in filming that look mad, especially like my height. For instance, sometimes I work with shorter actors where I have to slightly crouch in a shot to make the eye line work. And so I could be doing a really heavy scene, kind of crouching down slightly, which is just ridiculous. But you make it work. Or you act to a tennis ball. If you do any Marvel film or DC film, you'll be doing a lot of green screen work, blue screen work, and
Did you just hear about that on the Odyssey they had a act to mirrors?
No, I saw that interview this morning. I didn't listen to it. What did they say?
The IMAX camera is so big or something that the eye line cannot be anywhere near the actor cannot be anywhere near.
So you have to act with a mirror.
Yeah, so they had to put a mirror there so you could see the actor where. At least it's better than a ball, though, right?
Maybe.
At least there's a face in there.
That would be interesting. It's funny, sometimes actually acting to, I think any actor would prefer to act to a real human being and look in their eyes. But sometimes a tennis ball isn't that bad if you can use your imagination. A mirror, I don't know, that would be very weird. But then
weird,
you'd have to adjust, and I guess once you do. That's so weird, isn't it?
I don't understand why this guy keeps trying. This whole movie is made with these IMAX cameras.
Well, the other annoying thing I think with any IMAX cameras is they're so loud.
That's the other thing.
You cannot record any sound.
He blimped it, apparently, so they could.
Oh, so you could get on.
And that's probably why it became so big that the actor couldn't. Like, what are we doing? What is the point of, just so we can have that grain properly?
Well, the funny thing is with cameras, and I didn't realize this until the Westies, actually, as much as we were doing camera tests at the beginning. And it was because it's set in the 80s, it was the first time where I kind of had this brief panic where I went, oh God, are they going to shoot it like modern day TV shows? Like, is it going to have that real, ultra real kind of feeling to it where it's kind of overlit and looks a bit daytime soap kind of thing? Luckily, the answer to that is no. It looks gorgeous. I was so happy when and normally an actor I don't think would, you just see that at the end and you don't think about that. But it was something where I really panicked. I would have no control over that. I'm not going to go up and tell them how to grade it.
Yeah.
But it was something where I suddenly went, oh God, because I really dislike a lot of the way that things are filmed.
So,
now.
yeah, I
it
know
takes
what you mean.
me. I miss the era of watching films and they look like films.
I know.
And vanity-wise, my God, you could understand why so many people are getting plastic surgery because you can hide nothing. You see everyone's pores. I don't understand why people wanted that.
I know. And you know what? It's not just a look thing or like having some kind of pickiness about a look. It actually helps sell the believability of the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, I'm a big
So it
Lord of
helps
the
your
Rings
performance, is what I'm saying. It
Yes.
actually helps your performance.
It smooths it inside.
Yeah.
Even though you've got grain on it, it kind of it melds the whole world together.
Yes.
You're not aware. I mean, it doesn't mean that there obviously aren't bad films back in the day or bad cuts or bad editing, but it generally just kind of brings it all together. Whereas now, I'm just so hyper aware of everything.
Yeah.
I remember with Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is one of my favourite film trilogies. The Hobbit, not so much.
Yeah.
And I think even Peter Jackson's aware of that.
Yeah.
But he tried filming it in a different way,
Yeah.
like a higher frame rate,
Yeah.
and with these cameras, and suddenly that childhood kind of believability of this fantasy world disappeared.
Yeah, isn't that
I
fascinating?
was looking at actors in costumes and wigs.
Yeah. And you could really like feel that, like a soap opera type thing.
Yeah. it's an odd thing with technology where it's advancing, but it doesn't mean that I don't think it should.
Yes.
Just because we can do it doesn't mean we should.
Yes.
And I think that's why so many filmmakers are shooting on film or trying
Yes.
to at least make digital look like film
Yes.
and bring it backwards. And I think we've had an oversaturation of CGI and AI, and that's
Yes.
why Christopher Nolan doing things practically is so
Right.
enamored.
Right. Talking about the future, let's just talk hypothetically here. Let's just say at some point you had to put on some tights or something and actually speak to a ball, like you were saying, in some kind of, I don't know, a DC or Marvel movie, as you just said. You were the one who mentioned. How would one go about preparing for something like that?
I think the same as you would any job. I mean, the superhero films are fascinating because there's so much source material. It's kind of become Shakespeare in this weird way of like, you'll see different versions of Hamlet being done every year, and then it's become that.
It's just another character.
It's just another character that we seem to just want to see done differently each time. I mean, if I were it just more on the director, I think, really. The director to be like the fear of kind of going, how do I do this differently? Why is there a right for me to do this version again?
I love that. Putting the pressure on him or her.
Yeah.
That's where it should be, always.
Yeah. And
it's always the director's fault. That's what I always say.
Well, it is, and it's such a fascinating thing, isn't it, as well, where audiences blame, who they blame for these things. And you're right, a lot of them blame directors for it, but there is also a fear of it as an actor. I mean, I've been very close to roles that the weight of the responsibility of playing them has been huge. And of course, in my head, I could let down an entire country if I play this wrong.
Yeah.
If I do this in a way that they don't like, or the film does badly.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
But I think if that were to happen, I would approach it like, I would try and approach it like any role.
Yeah.
Like any normal acting role. I think mainly with those as well is like this, the scariest bit is also like, the body. Like if you're playing a big muscular superhero who's going, okay, well the next 6 months, I'm never going to see the outside of a gym again.
Yes, and you're not going to enjoy what you're eating.
No, God no.
But isn't that fascinating, Tom, that one day you could literally be thinking, I don't know if I'll ever work again. And then the next day you could be thinking, I'm about to take a role where I could disappoint the entire world.
That's been my career. Yeah, that has been my career. It's so fun. Yeah, it's a real cognitive dissonance. I think is like, and I've never got used to it. Of you do these incredible press tours, and I'm so fortunate. Like I count myself so lucky every single day that I get to spend even a second on set, even a second talking about what I love.
Yeah,
and even thinking about what I love. The mental health consequences of what we do. They're terrible. I mean, they are. There's no way of getting around it. It's like a shitty job for mental health at times, and it's a real battle for any creative field to keep yourself going between. You get 100 rejections or more, and you have to keep telling yourself, "I'm going to be a star." It's a weird thing to do. But I love this job, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But I'll never quite get used to that thing of like, I don't know if I'll work again, and then I suddenly could get a call tomorrow, and yeah, my life changes. That I'm facing a contract in which I'm looking at a contract that would change my life, change my parents' life, all that kind of stuff. And then that might all go away, and you're back to square one again, and then do it again.
But don't you think that this kind of instability that you're almost surfing is part of what you use actually in your work?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a positive to it, because also, as someone who had stability, I know that it's like Goldilocks. It's like, it's either too stable or not stable enough. It's like it makes the highs even higher.
Yeah. When
I get that call about the job that I want, because also the thing is as well, no matter how unemployed I've been, no matter how hard it's been between, I pride myself on always sticking. I've done a couple of like dodgy projects every so often. It's not like I've got, but I tend to turn down things that I just know wouldn't interest me, even if I need a paycheck, even if I need to pay rent. Is still going, no, that would make me sad doing that job, because being on a set's tough. Like again, first world problem. I'd rather do that than anything else, for me. But I also know that being on a film set and doing the thing you're supposed to love in a project that you don't kills it. Yeah. So I try and stick to going for things, and I want to keep doing that no matter what happens. But it means that you're constantly, every day is just taking a gamble on yourself, and it's not guaranteed. But I think it makes it all worth it. There has to be a positive to it. Otherwise, quit.
Tom, Brittney, thank you
so
much.
That was great. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe at backtooonepodcast.substack.com, where you can listen to back episodes, engage with other listeners, and support the show.